Hey guys, it's FK. Today we're going to do a game mechanic guide for effectiveness and effect resistance. I'll start this quick, too long didn't want to watch breakdown for those who only want the truth and don't care about why. Let's start with effectiveness. Effectiveness, you want 15 less than the enemy has ER. And let's end with effect resistance. How much do you want? You want 100 more than the enemy has effectiveness. And that's it. GG. Easy. Lesson's over. You guys are good to go. Bye. And if you're still here, we can get into why for those who care and want to know. So, SG released a statement about how the calculation is made. It's 100% plus your effectiveness minus the enemy effect resistance. The result cannot be more than 85. So what's that look like in an equation? So let's say you have no F, no effectiveness, and you're going into an enemy that has no effect resistance. What's the effect chance? That's 100. Psych, it is not 100. It's actually 85 because it caps out at 85. The result cannot be greater than 85. Due to the global 15% effect resistance chance. This is how it's calculated. It's a cap value rather than an additional calculation. So let's say you have 100 effectiveness and you're going into an enemy with 0 effect resistance. It should be 200. No, also fake. It's going to be 85. 85% chance to land the debuff. So this is kind of a representation of why overinvestment is kind of a bad thing. This 100 stats could go into something else. Let's do the opposite. Let's look at effect resistance. Let's see, you have 0F, you're going into 100 effect resistance. That should be 0. And it is. You have a 0% chance to land a debuff with 0 effectiveness into a unit with 100 effect resistance. And that's the lesson. That's the math. That's how it works. All right, so knowing the math behind it, let's think about how we build units. Let's take a look at some units that benefit from this. So this is Destina. Destina has an AoE debuff cleanse on S3, so we don't want her to get controlled or killed with Defense Break or what have you. So she gets 20% ER from this artifact. She's got some ER from her concentration. It's pretty easy. She's got 220 or so effect resistance. Effect resistance that comes from artifacts isn't calculated here in her stat values. So to get a debuff on 220 ER, you need 120 plus effectiveness. So it's pretty hard to debuff her. It's not the hardest. It depends on what level of play you're at. This is my Wyvern Singelica. She needs 200 effect resistance to resist Wyvern. And this is another Wyvern frontline. So he gets free effect resistance from this artifact, Noble Oath. It also really pairs well with his defense buff. And so we're actually going to watch a quick run with him, and he is going to absolutely carry this Wyvern team. It's really important, of the Huns, Wyvern is probably the most important one to understand how effectiveness and effect resistance work, because they both play a big part in completing it. The effectiveness, obviously, to maintain the debuffs. Wyvern guarantees that it targets your frontline. If it has 2 debuffs, it does less damage to your frontline if it has 3 debuffs. It's also important to understand the effect resistance because it has a buff dispel and pushback on S1. And this is how you actually know how much effect resistance it has. If you hold the portrait, and you can see its effect resistance stat directly along with its immunities. And so just subtracting 15 from that number will give you your stat line for effectiveness on all debuffers. You can do the same thing in Expeditions, Hell Raid, Normal Raid, and so on. And you can see these resist checks right here. He's just taking it out. What an absolute champion. I built mine on counter set, so he gets more chances to proc attack down. His attack down chance is like 60% chance to try. And then 75% chance to land because I'm actually missing some effectiveness on him. He's at 55 instead of 65 effectiveness. I'm sure someone's going to see that and rail me in the comments about it. But yeah, fun times, good times, winning. We've got free XP for farming fodder with a 3-man here, just operating off of this principle. We also got a new bay for Wyvern, Mui. He's a new unit of the new 3-stars that we just got. He's really good for Wyvern. Check him out, try him out, see if it works for you. Try the 65 effectiveness. It's just the answer. And that's all I've got. Hope you guys had fun. Hope you guys learned something. Cheers.